as you all begin to head towards the location of the Anthill tribe, uh, heading out. I believe you all were planning on not sleeping, so I think everybody is exhausted at this point. That was just as much of a question as it was actually telling you all that you'll be going exhausted.
Oh, yeah, I don't have in my notes what we actually did after we. I feel like we talked about maybe not, or maybe going right away, but I honestly can't remember what we actually ended up doing.
I think we just said that we were going to probably pick up the next game right outside of the Anthill tribe.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a part of where we're going to get here. Part of my point, though, is whether you all actually took a rest there. You seemed hesitant to sleep next to the ape tribe. Is part of why I say like that was potentially your chance to sleep. So if you guys were not,
So kind of as a team, I think we should talk about what we're going to do here. We went into um, last time was fantastic, maybe even great, but we could maybe talk about a plan beforehand this time, since we kind of know how this whole impersonating Vorn can go.
Well, it was a surprise circumstance last time too.
Yep. So can we like take it to a team vote whether or not we take a rest before we get into town, or should we just talk
at
about
this point, this
tactics
is more of
without
a
rest?
question. At this point, it's more of a question of do you all trust sleeping next to the ape tribe?
When you put it like that, what's the team think?
Uh, I feel
really.
like we kind of met an agreement to not bother each other. Darren would vote for napping.
Yeah, Taryn would be probably for napping too, but maybe we should move a bit further away at least. We're not in the same space.
Like a camp without a fire, 500 feet away from here, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess Jarek would be thinking it would be good to put some distance. He doesn't, he doesn't really trust the queen. He feels like if they camp nearby and the queen feels like she can eliminate them as a threat, she might go back on her word. And obviously, there's a lot of these goblins about, so Jarek, so it would probably be to, you know, uh, not camp nearby, but instead keep moving.
Without a long rest, I can't impersonate Vorn.
About how far are we from the Anthill tribe? Like, would we have another rest in between here and then?
Is the consensus that you all are going to move your camp and try to rest close to here, but not?
Yeah, that was like 4 out of 5 of us, I think.
Yeah, and if Rin is like, it basically says like she's not able to take on the form again, then Jarek would agree they need to rest because that's a big part of their plan.
Gotcha. So you all basically are a day's travel theoretically away from this, but you have a description. You don't know how far you're going.
Oh, something the tribes move to.
Yeah, they were nomadic, so we have more like an area of this is where they usually are.
So let me have people with survival. You can roll a survival to kind of plan your place. People with perception, you can roll a perception check if you would rather try to look for like Survival would almost be like looking for like cautious areas where you're a little bit less likely to be discovered or less likely to see traffic. Perception's a little bit more to try to find something that might be like a different kind of safety, like a little bit more sheltered or less likely to see. Or investigation, I think, is another option, but I feel like you all are pretty good on survival or perception. So once you all choose that, let me get that roll from.
Guys, in roll 20, why do Taryn and Aelin have 2 numbers?
Their beyond 20 is set up to always roll twice. It's one of the things that I like to have people do is to set that up so always roll twice and always roll damage and crits. Basically makes it that if you roll a die, it always gives the option of advantage or disadvantage. And then it always roll damage and crits includes the damage and attacks like with it. So theoretically, a single die roll covers everything, regardless of like how things twist and turn.
Got it. So Cam and I should turn that on.
It's just minor little things that it's whole like saves like seconds here and there. It's not a bad idea to turn it on, but it's not entirely necessary.
And it's under that that die in the bottom right corner. If you click in there, you can change that.
Yeah, if you go into those options, that picture I just sent into Discord like outlines what you're looking for. So while you all spend a few moments looking around for a safe place to rest, you are pretty sure that you can find a place that is at least off these main trails. You are pretty sure that you have at least enough shelter that it will give you a safe place effectively at this point to sleep this morning away and hopefully start your day kind of around noon here. Um, with that, though, we will have a moment where it looks like Rin is going to find a little ring on the ground. And if I can, Gareth, can you describe the ring that Rin is finding as she picks it up?
It is a ugly looking brass ring. It has a stone set into it, but it looks like the stone is just a lump of common gravel. It doesn't appear that the ring is valuable in any way, but it yet has something intangible about it that catches your eye.
So do I just find this on the ground while we're setting up camp?
Indeed. You basically are going to find this little ring in the nearby area. There seems to be like a large hole, maybe 5 or 6 feet deep, that the ring was next to. Other than that, as you kind of discover it and look through, there seems to be a tattered bedroll. Maybe somebody else met with the goblins and was chased off from this location. But other than those two little things, it seems like somebody else thought this was a safe place to rest.
So are we camping in someone else's camp?
So I think I would pick the ring up and kind of dust it off and look around. I'd let the other teammates know. And is there anything else I can tell about the space? Can Can I tell how many footprints or how many people, or can I, if as I get closer to the space, can I tell anything else about it?
Roll an investigation for me from Rin, and then anybody who has investigation, one of you could help or roll yourself. So I think that's actually realistically just Taryn. So looking through the area, I think you're going to be able to pick up at least a little bit of clues that somebody was probably here in the past few hours. It's hard for you to necessarily tell when exactly they were here. Perhaps they were close enough and they heard the commotion of your recent battle with the ape tribe. But as you search around, you don't seem to see any signs of them leaving camp. You almost have a sensation that this person was just in a moment disappeared.
Guys, I don't know if we should camp here. This
It looks up.
Why not, Ren? What'd you find?
I mean, this looks fresh, and this person could be coming back. They could be in the trees or in the woods. They could be watching us.
Suddenly, there is a puff of smoke, and the ring disappears out of your hand, and it appears on the hand of a scruffy, 5 foot tall, white haired old man holding a staff. And he says, "No, no, no, you're not goblins. You're ruining everything. You're meant to be goblins."
So, in this
Um,
quick puff of smoke, before the rest of you actually start to react here, can I have just a rundown of, again, these are like first moments of perception, what the professor is seeing as he pops out in this smoke? Can we start with Rin? Just a very like first person or third person. What do they see when they see Rin? Just in a moment.
So I am worn out from the day. We've traveled a long way. I'm in dark robes, kind of covering what I'm wearing underneath. But you see, when I'm walking and moving, there are flashes of what I'm wearing underneath, and I have a amazing looking tunic under there. um, but yeah, startled and a little bit haggard.
That's good. And then first person, very quick understanding of what they see with Taryn.
when you see Terran, you see a pretty average looking halfling. And scruffy looking about now. Brown hair, trim, beard that isn't trimmed anymore. And linen shirt, it's brown, it's leather armor, and woolen pants. And you can see a short sword and a dagger on his hip.
And Darren, as you are looking up to the trees, what do you look like?
Well, so I guess I'm like halfway turned away from this new poof, but you see another halfling, mop of brown hair with a little pelt robe on his back and a short bow strung or unstrung, I guess, across his shoulders, and looking very comfy and at home as he looks over towards Rin and the new guy.
And then, not necessarily knowing who is closest of the next two of you, can we get a quick description of Jarek and Island?
Yep. So with Jarek, you'd see a human, a little under 6 feet, pretty lean build, wearing studded leather that's definitely been pretty beat up, scratches and markings on it. Black hair, kind of scruffy beard. Looks like he kind of short, but starting to grow out, suggesting he's been out here for a while.
Island's 6 foot, painfully skinny, blonde, human, male, studded leather, pair of daggers, symbol of saloon on his leathers that you can see, and he's like drenched in mud, a little blood. He's got sticks in his hair, and he seems vaguely amused by the whole thing.
And then you'll see a few of their kind of folk who are like their retinue, kind of like carrying stuff to and fro. But there is also an older woman who's dark skinned, long dreadlocks that kind of flow over her shoulders. And she kind of has different decorations in them and all sorts of colors, but is perhaps the least surprised out of everybody here, kind of looking to you with a bit of a like smile of amusement. She'll just kind of like with a quick little nod, kind of look to you, and um, perhaps you'll hear a voice that was kind of coming through moments before you even like poofed out of your ring without necessarily knowing. You'll kind of hear her in your head as she says, "Welcome, friend. You're safe here." So as you poof, everybody has this experience. He says, "You're not goblins," and what is everybody thinking as this figure comes from the ring?
Oh, Taryn will be a little put off and be sorry for not being goblins, I guess. But I mean, if you paint me and then points to Darren and him over there green, put us in loincloths, we're pretty much the same thing.
And Jarek's hand would have kind of instinctively gone to his one of the two blades on his belt, but then kind of hearing the what the newcomer's saying, he would sort of relax, remove it back a little bit, look fairly bemused expression on his face, and kind of echoing what Taryn's saying, like, "You're looking for what are you looking for goblins for?"
Yeah, we can certainly help you find some.
The professor stamps his foot and looks very unamused for a moment and throws his hands up in the air and says, "Oh, I had the perfect plan. I'll let you in on a little secret. The queen of these goblins wears an amulet, and I was going to steal it. You see, goblins love shiny trinkets. I would leave my ring here, the goblins would pick it up, take it back to their queen, I would pop out, steal the amulet, and wah!"
Darren chuckles and says, "Oh, you're just a little bit late to that party." Oh, wait. Yeah, because of the other goblins, is what I mean. Or early? Wait.
What? You are also looking for this amulet?
Well, hang on now just a second. Why are you looking for this amulet?
The professor looks around with shifty eyes and says, "Oh, no reason at all."
Well, if you have no reason, then you can pretty much give it to us then.
The
Because we have a
professor
reason for it.
taps the side of his nose with one of his fingers and says, "Ah, but why are you looking for it then?"
Maybe it's just because it's real pretty, and, you're right about the goblins having pretty and fun things.
Oh, yes, same reason here, same reason.
Darren narrows his eyes suspiciously.
Are you a wizard?
Well, I'm not really so much a wizard as I am a professor of archaeology with a few friends in low places. I occasionally speak to dirt.
I had your ring. Where is it? Or how did you do that?
The professor holds up his hand and says, "This ring? Yes, yes, this is a magic ring. It belongs to me."
So tell me, Professor, the name Vorn mean anything to you? Jarek's gonna kind of like be watching him closely as he asks this question.
Mm,
His subversion, Darren would also be like kind of eyeing him in an insight manner.
Let me
uh,
get history from you, Professor. So the name wouldn't be unsurprising to you. It was something that you maybe would not have understood from the actual things that you have found that have brought you here. But it is something that would kind of stick out as like a word that has maybe come about in those notes. So from this point, as they are both clearly preparing to insight check you, I would like to invite you to can either roll a deception or something like a persuasion to decide what you would like to do. And if you would like, you can send that to me secretly just by clicking over to like the GM Whisper with Beyond 20. That can do it. But once you make that decision, what you would like to do, whether you want to just kind of be forward with it or whether you want to kind of hide some things, let me know.
the professor, while being sort of a bit of a thief, is not that deceptive, and he's not all of that perceptive either. But he's going to make a persuasion check, and I'll roll that publicly.
The two of you can still roll your insights against him to see, but effectively, um, you can kind of pick up with the conversation under this idea that you have heard the name. Again, you don't necessarily know what it means, but that it's in the notes that you have.
Then the professor says that. He says, "Yes, I believe I've heard that name before, but I don't know what that has to do with the fabled realm of old Astoria."
Realm of old what now?
Island's sort of interested in what he knows about old Astoria as a student of archaeology, perhaps whether he believes this guy or not.
Roll a history, Island. That's a vague name that comes forward to you. That it's something at least that would be intriguing from your studies. It's more than likely something that you never like latched on to become more specialized in it. But you at very least have the understanding. As I quickly look for your languages, you would basically know enough that it was a giant kingdom, or a kingdom of giants, rather. Um, you kind of at this point would know very little other than kind of this idea of you almost know how it would look in the dwarvish script that survives to these days. But if he's searching for Astoria, you all are in the wrong part of the world. And that might be like kind of the weirdest thing about this is that you guys are way down south and you don't think Astoria was ever rumored to be down here.
He's not a very good professor.
Does Astoria mean anything to Ren?
Let me get a history from yourself. And why does Rin have a reason to know of Astoria?
She was just listening in, and since she's familiar with a few versions of this now, she wondered if Astoria was something that she knew more about.
I would say probably at best this is something that you've come across in libraries, but it was never anything that actually piqued your interest at all. Not enough to delve too much deeper into that. The word kind of connects with your brain.
Jarek's going to be looking at the professor. Fabled realms of whatever is a bit beyond me, but in terms of that amulet, well, it's something we need.
Oh, is it? Is it? Well, if we're both looking for the amulet, perhaps we should join forces.
If you're
I don't know, guys. I feel like we should. I feel like we should talk about this as a group away from the professor.
I mean, if you're willing to help us find it.
Rin, let me get a perception check from you. Oh, my bad. What's your persuasion bonus, Rin? I said the wrong.
My persuasion bonus is -1.
-1, so an 11. Eku is going to look to Rin for a moment, and then she'll kind of look back over to the professor, and she'll just, would you mind, Professor, if I wonder, and she's going to reach out her hands for yours, just with kind of two open palms, fingers not like interlaced, but like her right hand overlaid over her left. Maybe like a quarter of her fingertips kind of overlaid.
Certainly, my dear, says the professor, and reaches out his hands to grasp hers.
So she's just going to kind of like grasp your hands for a few moments. Rin, while this is happening, you'll hear in your head, if you would like to have your conversation, I will be with the professor. And then I'm curious because normally I don't work with anything necessarily related to where people sit on the uh, man, I can't even think of it. My brain. Um, like, are you good, evil, chaotic, neutral? Like, where do you sit on the? Still can't think of the word.
Alignment?
I'm chaotic good.
Alignment
No,
chart?
I'm sorry. I'm talking to the professor though.
Oh, sorry.
On alignment.
Yes, the chaotic good.
Gotcha. So yeah, she is basically distracting you as she like goes through this ritual, and part of what she is searching for is to actually see whether you are a good type of person. So while this is happening, um, you obviously can like insight check Eku if you're coming on to the fact that she's trying to distract you. It should be terribly unclear that that is exactly what Eku is doing. Yeah, I would say it's very clear that she's like coming over to you to do something, but as well, like she's not really hiding the fact that she's like distracting you so they can have like a quick little private discussion about this person they just met. Eku is not a deceptive person.
So when Rin suggests that they kind of have a sort of private conversation, Jarek will come back over and kind of glancing back over towards the professor and lowering his voice and speaking to the others. Seems eccentric, I suppose, is a word for it. But if he knows anything about this amulet or can help us find it,
I get the feeling he doesn't know what it might be for, but I would be interested if we can figure out how, like, who told him to go find it.
I agree. That's my question. Who sent you?
Sent me? Nobody sent me. I came here all by myself.
It's hard to imagine that you found yourself right here and no one ever talked to you about this. Just did that all by yourself.
Oh, I came here to dig for ruins. The amulet. I heard the goblins talking about that. The goblins are all around here. These forests are very unsafe.
What did they say? Tell us more.
Well, they just said that it was valuable. I thought perhaps if I could steal it, I could go back to town and I could hire some professional excavators. Dwarves are good for that sort of thing. Then I could dig a bigger hole.
well, we happen to have come across some rather interesting ruins on our travels. Maybe if you help us find this amulet in exchange, we can give you some directions to it, and they might be of interest to you.
Well, certainly. That does sound like a very appealing offer. You do not know exactly where the goblins are? I do. Would you like me to show you?
Jarek will look back towards the others. Kind of like his eyebrows will raise a little bit in because they have a general idea, but if he's telling the truth, then
Now, Darren will kind of shrug and say, "Well, if he survived out here alone this long, he's probably onto something."
Either way, he's acting. He's probably on something, yeah. But yeah, I mean, if he can help us get there faster, so we don't have to look for it, let's say we use that.
I'm suspicious, but I'm in.
all right, Professor. I guess we have a deal.
Excellent, excellent. I'm so glad to hear it. The professor waves his hand at the muddy patch of dirt behind him, and all of a sudden the dirt starts bubbling and reshaping itself. A few seconds later, there is a surprisingly accurate topographical map of the local surrounds made out of mud on the ground.
That's kind of cool.
This is where we are right now, he says, pointing with the butt of his staff towards one place on the map. And this is where the Goblin Queen was this morning. He points to another place, about a mile away. We're perfectly safe right here. But if we get any closer, the goblins will notice us. There's too many for me to take on all by myself, so I was planning subterfuge. But now that we're all here, I think we have a chance.
You seem like the kind of guy who would like some crazy ideas. Boy, have we got a whopper for you.
Crazy? Crazy is my middle name. Giggles.
You've been dying for some tactical planning.
What were you thinking, Island?
Oh, I'm just finding this all totally amusing. Happy to go along with the plan. Enthralled with the map. Skeptical of the guy.
Oh, are you going to share your map with the professor?
Sure.
So you all already have a description of the camp that you are looking for. You have a description of how to get there. Seems close enough to what the professor's telling you all here.
And does the map that the professor is showing us, does that have that level of detail? Like, do we see the actual buildings in this representation?
This map technically would be the map that you all are getting from the queen of the ape tribe. So this would be the drawing that Island basically made from her description. I would say not necessarily this level of detail, but you all would certainly have an understanding of the actual camp on a certain level of the largest buildings, small buildings, the outset, the layout, kind of big things about it.
Okay, yeah, my mistake. I thought we got more of like just a general description, so I misremembered on my part.
At the end of the session last time, I actually gave you all a view of the map, but this was actually like giving you like a map that you guys can continue to look at and talk about.
Yeah, so we have like a map to make us tactical strategy on.
Well, I imagine the queen is likely in the nicest, largest building. If we can maybe approach from that side, get her alone, and try our strategy, not having to bluff our way past too many others, might be best.
So, what's the story for my entourage? So it's Vorn and
Yeah, how do we explain
all of us.
Born subjects.
But you don't look like goblins.
Well, Born's not a goblin.
Because that doesn't matter to them. All right. All right.
Oh, gods.
Vorn is all powerful.
I'll be the high priestess of Born, maybe, if you want.
Do we want to make any other demand? Yes. Rolls. You be a high priestess. Darren, you've got hype man, jester guy.
Yeah, totally.
Cartwheels in the front. Type.
Yep.
Entrance.
On it.
Professor, what do you think? Can you change your disguise?
I'm not sure. I've never had much use for disguises.
Should we ask for their gold this time? Should we give them a time frame to come back with their gold and the amulet, or should we just seek the amulet?
Well, I would think that a god wouldn't likely have need for gold. The amulet is a religious significance, or at least that's our story.
Well, so I was wondering, like, do we march grandly to the center of the anthill tribe? Or do we maybe, it was on accident last time that we got stumbled upon by those other ones, but what if we're, like, ready to be stumbled upon this time? And we kind of let them come to us because we're invading their area.
I guess my fear is if this anthill queen is as wily as the other one, we may find ourselves in trouble if we march in and the ruse falls through.
A little different, a hunting band versus a whole tribe.
Just have a question. We know the goblins are, or the Batir, greedy, and they are we are able to barter with them, but they don't really know what's the value of things. Could we try to trick them with a trade?
Might trade them a granite ring for the amulet.
Yes, maybe a magic ring.
The professor giggles and puts his hand in his pocket. No, no, no. We find much better than that.
You have something better in your pocket?
No. Do you?
I don't think so.
Terra will check his pocket and just go, nope, mostly lint.
I got some pretty cool rocks. We said it was like a blessed stone or something, and in reward for returning precious Vorn's amulet, here's a stone of great luck and power that they may be victorious or whatever for a long time.
I can make your stone glow for an hour.
We can trade that shiny stone for a wish. Like, she can always call on Vorn when she needs help. And as long
Yeah.
as we get away, we get away. I feel like Vorn's more a demand kind of guy than like a trade sort of guy. But
Roll an intelligence for me, Island. How often has your god, Saloon, ever given you questions that she asks of you? Don't you have duties to attend to?
yeah, no, she makes demands, gives instructions. She doesn't usually trade me things.
So you're the closest person here to actually having connection with the deity. That's on something. Vorn should be coming into this location to tell them what he requires, what they should be doing. What do you all need in return? What does Vorn need them to do?
So we did that last time, and we did have a hard time fooling those goblins with our demands and demanded and demanded.
You also had a bunch of people who are not Vorn.
Oh,
How often does Saloon ask you to do things? And how often does not Saloon ask you to do things?
all right.
So, just Rin, and whoever can be sneaky and keep an eye out, like as support, like be backup.
Oh, it doesn't mean that you all can't go in there with people who are following Vorn. I just mean that on some level, the Cleric Island is going to kind of take that moment to tell you all, like, perhaps the idea is go in here with a simple request that Vorn orders them to give you the amulet, that he needs it. And there's no question, there's no request, like, there's nothing but this is what you do, and that might be sufficient. That's his interaction with gods.
Sorry, my audio cut out for a bit. I was gonna try and say like, oh, we could also like we know this other goblin queen was concerned about maintaining her grip on power. What if we offered to have Vorn, bless this queen's rule in return for the amulet? If these goblins worship Vorn, then that could also be something that would interest her rather than something material.
Yeah, like elevating her to the head of the council. will certainly be in her interest.
How about plan one is to demand with 100% definiteness, and then if because I'm more of an idea wizard. I'm not super good at execution. So if we fail in the demands, maybe then we offer to bless, and then when everything just hits the fan, we can take positions.
We could go, just a suggestion here, with the demand, like you said, and then if they don't meet the demand, we could just go.
But I'll bless
Or
you.
reward. Yeah, basically that this amulet is important to Vorn, so anyone who gives it to Vorn will be rewarded or blessed.
All right, I like it.
love the idea.
All right, let's how are we going to do? How are we doing sleeping this evening?
Well, we
I'm
already
bushed.
we already.
Are we sleeping here, or do we want to get a little further down the road?
We've moved to a new camp area,
Well, then this is perfect.
but we haven't camped yet. So we got to do who's going to take first watch? Probably.
Tara will offer.
The professor says, I, Professor Avaputh, have just rested. I will take first watch while you all rest if you would like me to.
That is a swell idea, Professor, but if you don't mind, maybe I could help you on first watch. Tara would offer.
I look some thanks at Taryn because that makes sense to him.
Two sets of
So-
eyes better than one.
10 and the professor, when you all are ready, roll some perceptions for me. Two of you have a pretty simple watch. As you spend the first hour here, everybody's starting to go to sleep, keeping an eye over things. You do see kind of normal activity around the forest. Nothing in particular that seems to tell you that there's any like hostile activity. Nothing in particular that seems to show signs that the forest is necessarily aware of you, but pretty heavy rainfalls and everything kind of passes on without other notability. When the two of you are ready for another, let me get another round of perceptions from you. These next hour passes by a little easier. Taryn, you definitely notice that the professor's version of watching is more or less closing his eyes and sleeping. It's very confidence inspiring for you. But as things kind of go by, there's still a nice like rainfall. It's not as hard, but it's still enough that pretty much anything is going to kind of be covered along your paths here from this point, and kind of gives you at least a little bit of confidence that the jungle is somewhat protecting your location as you all are in the heart of these tribes of goblins. But when you are ready, you can wake who you would like to get for the next round of watches.
Darren wouldn't mind taking a second walk.
And Taren would first wake up Professor and go, "Watch is over now. We can go sleep."
What?
And then-
What? Oh, thank you very much, young man.
You're welcome. And then I'll go wake Darren and let him take second watch.
Darren like checks in with Taryn. He's like, "Everything good? Is everything cool?"
Yeah, everything's good so far.
All right.
So when the two of you are ready, you all can roll some perceptions.
Oh, who was the second one to roll?
I don't think we have a second person with me yet.
Yeah, I think you're on one.
The professor offered to keep watch for all of you all.
Uh,
I assumed it was the professor still. But so you all keep a pretty solid watch. Most of the rain kind of dies off by this point, and it's kind of like the drips and drops of the actual forest itself, just getting rid of those last bits. There's a good bit of activity of like some smaller creatures in the actual trees themselves. Nothing that seems to be anything other than like vegetarian things, like tiny little um, like lemurs and things like that, kind of passing around above and around. But some of those confidence inspiring things that tell you, as long as things that are usually prey are moving about, there's usually not big predators about. But when the two of you are ready, y'all can do another round of perceptions. You'll have some pretty strong rainfall kind of coming down in this last hour, and again, you kind of lose the actual sound of much of the forest around you. But as things progress forward, time's moving around this point. Um, Rin will be coming out of her meditation, and from this point on, you all could either move to the professor and Rin keeping watch, or you could wake up other people as well. But it is up to you, Darren, as you go, if you would like to get anybody else. But Rin and the professor at this point will be up for the rest of everyone sleeping.
oh, Rin, you feel good? You feel good about it? You cool?
Yeah, I'm good with it. Yeah, I'll go. Let's go.
I'll leave Rin to watch with the professor and catch my Z's.
So let me get a round of perceptions from the two of you.
The professor is passing the time during the watch, making little dioramas out of dirt with magic, little flashing lights, and reenacting little battles, playing with toy soldiers made out of mud.
Where are you from, Professor?
I'm from Neverwinter, from the university at Neverwinter. A
Okay.
professor of archaeology.
Okay.
So the next few hours are going to pass for the two of you rather uneventful. Rains kind of coming and going, high winds kind of picking up for most of those hours. Towards the end of this, eventually, Jarek as well as Island will start to wake up from their sleeps as they kind of come to. The two of you are welcome to kind of stay up with the others, or you are welcome to gain a little bit of extra sleep. At this point, the two of you are 6 hours into your sleep and basically just have to be casual for this next little bit. Um,
I think Jarek would kind of get up and then seeing that Rin is still with the professor and knowing that it's rare for he's gonna try and grab a little extra sleep if he can. So knowing that there's a couple people and so far seems like nothing has gone wrong, he's gonna risk it and try and get a little extra sleep.
Yeah, Island is, sits with Ren and watches the professor play with his toys and sort of puzzles over the situation. Doesn't say much.
So are you joining them on watch then? Are you kind of like
Yeah.
relaxing and staying up?
Yeah, I'll
Gotcha.
join on watch.
For this, let me have the three of you roll some perceptions. Rin can excellent. So while you all keep watch around things, the rains kind of quiet down, the wind slow. You'll notice that the professor is perhaps not even watching in the least bit, but by now he's got small little armies of all of these mud figures, and the level of detail is probably astounding for anybody who has uh, ever been um, into kind of sculpting, and they are far too miniature um, for being out in the jungle. Most of them holding up perfectly fine in the actual conditions. But other than that, the jungle itself seems to be holding itself at bay, and another hour passes by uneventfully. The three of you can do one more perception for me. So it's getting a little bit itchy. Professor's kind of ready to kind of move along, looking towards all these people who you've watched now for quite a few hours of sleep. Uh, Seeing everybody kind of starting to turn. You can see those first signs that everybody's nearing, actually waking up and kind of getting to things. There is going to be a point, though, where the professor and Eileen are quick to kind of notice that there's something large wandering near you all. Um, Maybe a single thing, maybe two. But there's a potential it's coming towards you all and might be a risk. What do you all have thoughts on that? And realistically, Rin, by the time they start to actually like inquire into it or make like movements around it, you'll pretty quickly notice that they're recognizing something, and kind of pick up on this idea that something's moving kind of north of your camp.
The professor says, "Huh, do you hear that?" And then he casts mage armor on himself.
I do hear it. We can not draw its attention. That's the best thing. So let's keep an eye and see if it gets closer. If it does get closer, we can wake companions. Island's goal is to avoid a conflict if we can. It's just dinosaurs tromping along north of the camp, then maybe we don't have to get into it.
The professor nods and attempts to hide.
Any thoughts from Rin on what you're doing?
Ren looks around and listens and kind of freezes.
Gotcha. So let me get a insight or survival, um, from the three of you. So all of you are going to pick up that this creature is indeed going to walk through your camp pretty soon. Between Eileen and the professor, it's pretty clear after a few moments that this seems to be something that is simply wandering and is about to wander through your camp. that overall there's no danger in this thing other than its size. And over the next few moments, you are actually going to see as a large reptilian head kind of peeks through the leaves, and you see, like, in the moment where the head is visible to you, this creature is actually like eating the brush away and has no sense that you all are there. And you just see this head that is almost the size of any given one of you, certainly twice, if not three times, the size of either Taryn or Darren. But you all have encountered some of these absolutely large lizards in the past. Have a pretty good sense that you could kill it, or you could let it live, but it probably doesn't recognize you as a threat nor as food.
Have the others finished their long rest, or are they on the last hour?
Let
They
it
have
step
not.
on me.
All
None
right.
of them are rested at present. If they had cast mage armor, they would have lost their rest.
The professor is going to put his fingers to his lips and step off to the side of the camp and use minor illusion to try and make the image of some yummy looking fruit at about dinosaur head height above the trees and try and lead it to the side.
Pretty sure that'll be a wisdom, and your DC is 13.
Yeah.
Oh, it's intelligence, if it even. Yeah, I don't even think that creature is going to have anything other than to kind of like follow this fruit. And you can more or less lead it however far you would like. But what do you have in mind as you kind of conjure this fruit for the creature to?
I'm just going to try and make it move 30 feet to the side so that it doesn't step on my new compatriots. And as soon as it's gone beyond them and they're out of danger, I'm going to sneak back to the camp and let the illusion disperse.
Gotcha. So you'll see as when you conjure the fruit, the creature kind of like looking around, um, eventually will doesn't have any smell against them. I guess I should have rolled a perception almost first. But I don't see any reason why it wouldn't eventually kind of catch sight of it. And in the process, just slowly moving towards them. When they do end up disappearing, doesn't seem to even affect the creature at all. It just eats the next closest thing that looks green. But just have a lizard that's about 30 feet off from camp. And at least now its head is pointed away from camp instead of towards it. And you're pretty sure the direction that its head is pointing is pretty much the biggest clue about which direction it's going next.
Professor
Island,
sneaks back into camp and puts his finger to his lips again and nods at everyone and says,
Island says, "Nice work." Nods with approval.
So when everybody is good here, you all can benefit from a long rest. So while they're away for the next few moments here, as far as things go, I think we can pick back up with things because, in general, you guys are back into that idea of those last few moments of planning before you kind of like actually approach the goblin camp and begin to enact your plans. So while you all are kind of in this last few moments, what have you all in mind as to what you would like to do? Last thoughts. Where are we at?
Darren wants to take some time to go full camo or like at least disguise, cover his facial appearances and appear real mysterious. He'll
Smear mud on your face.
Yeah, mud on the face and stuff.
So, Rin, how long can you maintain the illusion of Vorn?
It's an hour.
Okay, so we should have plenty of time to take care of that maybe before we get too close to the camp, just to cut down on the chance of being seen before we take care of that.
Agreed. Are we close enough for that?
No, we should probably find like the edge of the camp before you do that.
I would like to take a second and cast my gift of alacrity. Kind of taking a moment to center myself, close my eyes, hum.
Jarek's trying to ask her questions and she just goes, "Oh."
I'll come back later.
Ask
That's
Patrick. Are they doing yoga? What are they up to?
Jarek would have no idea. Yeah, he has no idea. He's not the yoga type.
Something magical and mysterious, I think.
not like actually I guess. But more like a more like a nasally
Me.
Trying to get into Vorn's character, I guess.
The tips, the tongue, the teeth of the lip.
So I guess kind of in keeping with our decision to sort of go in kind of bluffing strong with demand, I guess maybe I think Darren, it was your idea to go kind of just go straight in, and I think if that's kind of the plan, maybe that's better than Jarek's initial idea to kind of circle around. Like, if we're coming in strong, then it makes sense that we would not try to hide our approach, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think like a calm and steady but stern demeanor would play best here. Like, and keeping it simple too. Like, I am Vorn. I demand the amulet. Goodbye. Like, as simple as that. As long as they're like, then we don't have to do any of the sub plans. But that's plan A.
Yeah, there's really only one way this turns out, which is Vorn's way.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, you guys act like the last one didn't happen where we totally demanded
Well,
and my demands were met with I guess I said it like this. Give me your amulet now. Give me your information now. And then I tripped.
Yeah.
So I don't,
Yeah, remember to call it my amulet this time. It's my amulet. Vorn's amulet.
Yes. And in my born state, I also have the amulet on, so I feel like I can point to it, right?
Let me get an intelligence from you, Rin. So don't forget that Vorn has been static, in place, and unmoving for ages. Don't forget that you've woken up to claim your amulet. But yes, you also do have like the inset, like basically the amulet in relief, whereas like the amulet will basically fit into it. So yeah, you can 100% point to your chest, like, or just like hand over your heart kind of thing. Like, I've woken up to claim my amulet.
So I feel like we're getting close enough to take my Vorn state.
Well, were we waiting
Excellent.
for everyone to be back, or
Everybody should be back by now. I see
Gotcha.
Professor said back. I've heard Larry.
The professor says, I love this plan. It's crazy. What do you want me to do?
Well, I'm not sure what you can do. So I wonder if we should actually have those of us that are stealthiest remain stealthy and only come in with Vorn and as many as we have too that aren't stealthy.
Island and Jarrett, maybe?
Maybe Island and Jarrett come, and I don't know how stealthy the professor is, but Darren could stay hidden.
I mean, we could play ourselves off as the entourage, in which case all we have to do is look mysterious or subservient.
I think we look like that without any trouble. Plus, we can kill things if you need that.
Professor, you've got the wild-eyed look down already.
The professor nods and grins. He says, yes, yes, the dirt will help us as well.
should I stick with you guys or be stealthy in the wings? Because I can translate the goblin. Because Vorn wouldn't translate for you guys; he'd speak goblin. I don't know. Just thinking of that.
You were very helpful as hype man, like mega helpful. You should definitely hype man and translate.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was just making sure.
Yeah, should things go south, it may be best to stick together.
Plus, a bad dress rehearsal is always good for a performance.
So Rin closes her eyes again and makes that weird high-pitched humming noise and snaps her fingers and takes on the likeness of Vorn.
The professor claps his hand and says, that's so cool.
1 second. I want to remind you that you need to use disguise self here. If you didn't prepare it this morning, switch over to disguise self where it's prepared.
No, we'll do it. Okay.
Alter self, you cannot become a large creature, and that's part of what you have to kind of do here.
I have to add our oath.
So is there a stealthy group that is not going in with Vorn? And Vorn is going in?
No, I think we're all going to stay together and come in as my entourage.
Gotcha. So what direction would you all like to come from after having some time to kind of spy about this area? You are able to come from pretty much the direction of your choice. If you follow the idea of what Jarek had brought up at some point, the central hut inside of the grouping of the other 7 huts is the largest, and that's probably where you would find the queen. Otherwise, there is a outskirt hut that is a pretty large one that's purple, but it is kind of off by its lonesome near this large pile of tree trunks. Or you have 2 other huts that are kind of off to the side over near the east side of this camp. And other than that, you've got this kind of camp before you, and you all seem to be unnoticed as of now.
And we see the queen herself.
At present, you see a few different stacks kind of wandering around the actual camp itself. But overall, I don't think you have any reason to recognize or know where the queen might be and if you see the queen.
All right, guys, I'm going to go.
Fortune favors the brave.
All right. So Rin, as Vorn, commandingly strolls into the middle of the camp and in a booming voice says, "Show me to your queen!"
You can place yourself wherever you're going to kind of pop out here.
Guess would it make sense for us to be coming up from the south, right? In terms of our direction of approach.
How do we place a token?
Drag yourself by your name, and then you place it where you want to be. At present, Rin, I have you dropped as Vorn. So you are directly above Island. You should have control of that token right now.
I have control of my token. Was there another one you want me to have control over?
No, I mean for Rin.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, because
So
Ren has a Vorn token. Now I understand.
is that kind of how far you plan to walk before you like reveal yourself, Rin? Like before you yell that?
Yeah, I walk so they could get a good look at me walking in commandingly. And then when everybody, as a hush falls over them, I command them to take me to their queen.
Is everybody else staying at the edge, and then Darren is following beside Vorn?
I think Jarek would have been keeping pace with them as well. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we're like, I don't know, 10, 15 steps behind, maybe. The retinue.
Yeah, the plan was to stick together, I believe.
What's that, 10 feet behind?
So as you all start to walk into this camp, you'll see as a few of the stacks do indeed kind of notice you and don't really react at first, kind of looking to see why Vorn is walking into the camp. And seeing all of these strange creatures, there's another kind of like twist to how they react, trying to think, hear little discussions between the stacks, trying to make sense of what to do. And you all are aware enough to know that whatever peace that they have around the creation of Vorn would perhaps extend to you while you are walking that close to Vorn. But everything kind of gets still, and probably about the only sounds you all hear in camp for a few moments is the sound of a few fires crackling, little bit of whining and crying, telling you that there are young around, and then things from the forest, hundreds of feet away at this point, back to their normal activity. But inside of this goblin camp, stillness is set. And as you
Correct.
yell out and claim to be Vorn, Rin, I would like you to make a performance check. With advantage, please. So you're going to see is one of the stacks just in front of you kind of like starts to like curve over and fall forward before the goblins all just kind of break up into their singular parts. And the one who is already like on the ground and has the least far to kind of like come back to normal is going to walk back towards the hut just beyond you all and kind of pop out of view. What's everybody thinking?
So I don't want to, we don't want to scare anyone. So we want to, we came in, we stated it loudly, but I'd like to reassure them that, it's all right. Don't be afraid.
Jarek is kind of just trying to stand there with a solemn look on his face, kind of, or like maybe like his hands kind of crossed in front of him.
Darren's doing the same near him, just about a third the height.
Island's trying to get a read on what's going on with the goblins. Like, do you understand anything about goblin stacks that might give us a hint about how it's going?
You can roll an insight check. Going to be pretty high DC at that point. I don't think you're going to get any extra information on that. I feel like I kind of told you all a lot. You see like a whole goblin tribe that is not moving. What does that tell Island?
Well, the crickets make me nervous, I have to say.
Well, you're in the center of a goblin tribe that's probably about 6 or 8 to 1 at present, but they're not moving.
Everything's on a knife's edge.
So after a few moments here, you all are going to see as little goblin comes out of the actual tent behind and is kind of following behind another one that its mask is almost like the pincers of a fire ant. And as she kind of like approaches towards you all, you have a pretty solid sense that this is the queen being brought forward before the goblin that had run off in that direction is actually going to yell out in goblin. To the great Lord Vorn, I present to you Queen of the Ant Tribe, our most wonderful, and your servant, Queen Grabstab. He kind of like bows low to you, falling to the ground almost with his front hands and his head just barely above the ground. And she's not bowed low, but she is lowering her head towards Vorn, standing about 10 feet away from you.
Darren will stage whisper behind him and translate what they say to the rest of the group as they come up.
You have stolen something from me. You have disgraced me, and I would like it back.
Make an intimidation for me, Ren.
I mean, I wasn't being intimidating. All right.
Oh, you said so. Just go for it.
Sorry, guys. That's all right.
Not yet.
She kind of like raises her head a little bit to look towards you. And you see as the queen brings her hand up to her face, pulls the mask away, and leans down towards the ground. The like mask still like in her right claw, kind of like goes down into the dirt. Her left hand goes out into the dirt as she's basically like almost giving her neck towards you. And as she leans down, like fully prone in front of Vorn, you'll see as the amulet drops from inside of her garb and hangs just right above the ground.
So I'd like So thank you, my faithful servant subject. Thank you, my faithful subject. And I approach her and reach down to touch the amulet. Oh, wait, I do not. I do not do that. I ask her to place the amulet on the ground in front of
So you can do a persuasion to ask her that, or you can tell me what you're saying, and you might have a better option on how the persuasion works.
I actually, so she's bowing to me right now with the necklace on, right?
Yeah, like right now she's almost in all fours.
I ask her to get up. And I say nothing else.
She'll stand, kind of look towards you, still like almost coyly, like eyes to the ground.
I'm going to ask my servant Darren to come to you and get the necklace. Is that okay?
You can make a persuasion. This time you're getting disadvantage with it.
I was looking for consent.
Goblins are big on consent.
I understand that on a certain level, it's definitely an important thing to ask for. But I definitely feel like a god to a goblin. This is not where consent matters.
But, you know, she might really appreciate it.
The dice have spoken.
But they haven't. I would like to stop time and re-roll that.
You got a single d20 basically on this one.
Just hit it again.
So she'll just kind of look to you. Your servant will take what have you come for?
I've come for my amulet.
She'll kind of reach down and looking back up to you. Just kind of stalls for a moment before making the recognition. And she'll set it just in front of her feet.
Darren will come out from behind Vorn, like not making eye contact and like covering his eyes and like groveling and stuff as he like slinks forward to snatch the amulet and present it to Vorn.
Make a performance check.
Sure thing.
She'll look at you, eyeing you with clear distrust, and looks back to Vorn. Have all of our gifts, have we meant nothing to you?
Darren will reply to her in Goblin and say that Vorn blesses all who do well by him. Don't ever doubt that.
Roll a deception. Looking back to Vorn. How did we anger you? Why? What?
The amulet, it was taken, you see.
Silence! And you're going to see as the other stacks around are going to start to close in on the group. How have we angered you? Why? Stop giving her clues. Let her play her character.
You, you, you have taken you have stolen the amulet.
This was something I found ages ago. I never knew it belonged to you. Forgive me.
I thank you for keeping it safe. Please remove it and set it on the ground.
Oh, he already has it.
We
She
already
just doesn't trust Darren. She clearly is ready to have everybody kill Darren at this point because she doesn't understand why you would curse her and take the amulet.
No, we're good. I'm going to, I thank you for taking care of it. Thank you for holding on to it. And for that, I'm going to bless your whole village with loads of goblin stuff and gold. Yep. More goblin babies.
All right, so when you say this, what are you doing? Like, you gonna do something to make a show of it?
I'm clearly waving as I'm skirting out.
So this is just you kind of like waving your hands and
This
just
is me kind of wrapping it up, thanking her, kind of taking a couple of steps backwards. I'd like, I will visit you again in 1 year from this day.
So you're going to watch as everybody is kind of backing up towards the tree line. A few of these stacks are keeping close to you all, and right before everybody kind of gets to the tree line, they're just going to have spears almost just directly in front of you all, but nobody should have a sense that you're not about to get attacked here. Are you going to step back into the trees and disappear? Are you all going to let this happen? Or are you ready to fight? What's everybody thinking here?
I would like to ask the Goblin Queen, why the spears? Why do you challenge Vorn? Do not challenge Vorn.
Jarek would just kind of growl, move aside.
Taryn would go very lowly, so that only the ones surrounding could hear. Like, we have the amulet. I think we should just run for it. Just get away.
So let's do the same. I would like to cast sleep at 2nd level.
All right. Where are you casting sleep at? What's your point?
It would be
You can double click on the screen to ping.
so I just need to move Vorn, right? So like cast it right there. So I'm targeting the queen.
You can't target with sleep. You pick a point.
What do you mean I pick a point?
Like when you cast sleep, you are casting a spell that affects a large radius.
Yes.
And the point that you tell me is the center of that radius, but it does not affect a specific creature. It affects the lowest amount of hit points all the way up until it runs out of hit points.
Okay. Maybe I don't want to do that.
Darren votes for running if we don't get closed on. He'll say quietly to the group.
So we got Taryn saying run. We've got Darren saying run. We've got Jarek growling. What's everybody doing?
Let's go. Let's run. Go.
Island's gonna cast suggest on
Sorry, Island.
on the queen that it's in her best interest to take a step back and let Vorn do what Vorn will.
For that, I will have everybody roll initiative. $1,000,000 goblins.
So what's the add to my initiative from the Gift of Alacrity?
I believe it's at a D8.
And then
Absolutely perfect. So the moment you actually start to cast, the goblin that is just to the northeast of Island and Darren is just going to poke into him with its spear. And it's going to crit. What did somebody say there?
I just said that was rude.
Oh, so my suggestion didn't get in before initiative started. I was like hoping.
No, you guys were in a hostile situation. There's no surprising stuff when you're being walked back with spears.
Okay.
So you're going to take 6 points of slashing or piercing damage as you're stabbed by this goblin with a spear.
I am or Island?
Island. Just a healthy reminder from it that it's not keen on him casting a spell right now. And then it's going to be Terran.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna bonus action disengage. Just move back a little bit into the forest.
Gotcha.
Like that, so I'm like 15 feet. Just that movement. So I am where I am on the map. And then I'm gonna pull out my bow. Seeing as Island got poked, I'm gonna take a shot at the stack of goblins that just poked him.
Gotcha. So quick little rollback. As it starts to like stab out at your friend, you release the arrow, solid strike into it. That goblin. Roll a. Yeah, let's go with that. That goblin's just gonna die.
Taryn, which one did you kill? Got it.
So one of those, I guess, there should be like there's 3 in that
Killed
stack, right?
killed one, and now there's like 6.
It's like a
Boring.
Hydra. Kill one, another one takes its place, or
Okay, so
2
it's
others
3.
takes its place.
Well, we're making progress.
And that should be the end of my turn. Well, actually, I'm just gonna say, Tyron also goes like, "Guys, let's go. We're not welcome anymore." And that's the end of my turn.
Another is going to kind of close the distance towards Jarek and the professor, and kind of slashing out at the professor with a scimitar. Should have a solid strike into the professor, and it is going to do. That was a crit. So it's going to do 8 slashing damage to you.
Okay. Yep. My armor class is 15 at the moment because of mage armor. Does that make a difference?
No, I hit you with that 21, with that 17.
Okay. So that's 8.
And then we will be on Vorn. What are you doing here, Vorn? You can hear the sounds of the battle about you. And when I say Vorn, I mean Rin.
Oh, can I talk to the queen?
What are you trying to say?
I want to ask her, she would go against her god and kind of give her one last chance for the fighting to not happen.
You can do another intimidation.
Are you sure you want to do this? All right, so I'm gonna.
So would you like to move or take any sort of bonus action?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and move out of the fray and kind of dodge if I need to get kind of over here.
she's going to swing out at you, and as you're stepping away, she stops her scimitar like right before touching Vorn and you. And as you step away from her, kind of like slowly lowers that sword. Then what are you doing?
Island still wants to cast suggestion on her and get her to back off because it's the most reasonable thing for her to do. Can I
Go
do
for it.
that? So she's got to make a wisdom saving throw at 14. Do I get any sense?
And
of
you said back up?
No,
back off?
to back off, to like back
Can
back.
Can I
You want to-
impact? I'm sorry. Can we reroll? Can I stop time and reroll that? Make her reroll that?
I should probably also clarify what it is I'm suggesting she does.
You do need to clarify it, but I think you said back off.
I want her to back off this fight. It's not the right thing for her to do. Everyone in her tribe is going to end up dead. She can't challenge Vorn. But it's, with the reasonableness of a suggestion, not a command. So how do we do? Do we have a sense?
You'll have to see at this point.
All right, so that's my action. I want to take offensive bonus actions, but I think I'm going to hold off. Okay, so I'm going to stand my ground. Like, hands out. Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's what you need to do. Very reasonable. And bleeding, apparently.
As she does that slash out to Vorn, stopping her scimitar. She's going to raise the blade high and kind of spin it down towards the ground, so she's holding it the opposite way. And those of you who speak Goblin are going to hear her say, "Leave them. Vorn has spoken. We are on our own." And she's going to sheathe her sword. Professor, what would you like to do?
The professor sees what has just happened, and he is still uncertain about things that are going on, so he is going to cast Sanctuary on himself. Not at all like a coward would do.
I was chewing on my apple, but you said not at all like a coward.
Correct. Not at all like a coward.
Sounds very
Can you
heroic.
describe your sanctuary? Is it a sanctuary of dirt?
The professor holds up his staff, and a shimmering light covers him, protecting him like a thin cloak of a translucent material.
Gotcha. From there, we're gonna go to another of the stacks. I'm trying to figure out which one it was. But you're going to see as the goblins, I think northwest of Jarek, are going to kind of step away from, disengage from you. as they kind of just wobble back and away from you in the forest edge. Taking an opportunity attack, Jarek.
Nope.
And then it will be on you.
All right, so Jarek, similarly kind of seeing what's just happened, is going to kind of like almost like a show of bravado, just move south, kind of like he expects that, like them backing off is just kind of what he expected all along. So he's just kind of moving with purpose, but not like super quickly. And yeah, I think that'll be his if any he'll no, that's it. He'll take the dodge action in case they come after him, but that's it.
Gotcha. Darren, round it off.
Darren's just going to disengage and fall into the foliage.
So you all will see is another chunk of, what is it, the goblin that was next to Taryn. That stack is going to back away. The stack that's immediately west of the professor is going to back away. And then the three that are already behind the queen kind of look to you all before the goblins just slowly back away from you. The ones who are north of island, as you are left off alone. Are you going to attack one of the goblins as it steps away from you, Island?
No, I got my hands out, trying to calm things down.
So I think as there are eyes between all of you for those last few moments, as everybody slowly backs away from this tense situation, everybody's locked visually with their eyes. But the goblins are going to kind of step back, recognizing they're dead and that Vorn has spoken. You all are going to slowly disappear into the forest. And as you are out of immediate sight of the goblins, what would you all like to do?
Let's get out of here, you guys.
Well, that nearly all went to shit.
Yeah, let's put some distance between us and the materia here.
Let's go find Vorn.
I think it's important to say that the more dice you add to a skill challenge, the more likely it will eventually fail.
I hear you.
Yeah, but Jarek's agreeing, like let's move now before they change their minds.
Darcy,
work.
I really appreciate that you were trying to be nice to the Queen of the Goblins.
Darcy, you did a good job.
I know that you don't. I know that we don't want to kill stuff. So we're here for it.
You did a good job. It's our second goblin heist. We'll get better.
Well, thanks, guys. I'm more of like a Wozniak wizard, I think. Real idea guy.
Well,
So,
Vorn just woke up, right? So he's not really himself yet. He's still.
Island's eager to activate the actual Vorn and have control of it by the time the goblins catch up with us. So how about we do that?
Yeah, let's head out.
We didn't lose a whole lot this time, so how much of a straight shot can we make it?
The professor says, "Well, that was marginally less disastrous than I thought, but one of them stabbed me."
You're not the only one that got stabbed.
Well, to be fair, one of them is dead. So
Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Taryn, for that.
You guys good? You want some healing? Because I got your back.
Let's go. We gotta go. Quick.
Getting out of here. I'll heal you later.
I don't think there's ever a goblin that's going to be able to live through a critting rogue.
I poked our friend first.
So you all have a solid. You're probably still at least like a day's travel away from Vorn. So you have a certain sense that you are still in Goblin Country. You have plenty of time to travel there, but in the long run, it's more or less up to you all. Like, are you trying to move quickly through the forest and make as much distance as possible as fast as you can? Are you all trying to keep one with the forest and hopefully avoid everything and anything? Where are y'all going with this?
I say let's head back. Isn't she going to realize soon that her mind was changed?
From the beginning.
Well, I think we want to take the paths that exist, not break any new trails, but be as quick as we can, put as much distance as we can, because she is going to realize that she doesn't have her amulet. She's not 100% sure she believes us.
And the Bachiri know I probably know these forests better than we do, so might be difficult to move unseen. We might be better off going for speed over stealth at this point.
Yeah, I feel like we'll be safer at Vorn. So the quicker we get there, the better.
To Vorn.
Oh, and above the table. Am I the only one that feels a bit guilty that we basically broke that uh, Goblin Queen's faith in Vorn?
I mean,
No.
stuff happens, you know?
I hope it doesn't come back to haunt us.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you are the only one that feels that way, Taryn. I don't feel that way at all. False god. It's fine.
So, what is it all that you are doing with this amulet now? Where are we going next?
So this amulet should allow us to control a shield guardian that's been left in this jungle for a long time. From what we know, it was a companion to a wizard who traveled in these parts, and we're hoping this thing may know something about the. There's a curse infecting these parts. We're hoping it may know something about how to fight it.
Ooh, that sounds fascinating. I'm happy to come along.
Yes, it's a bit of a long story, but I can tell you on the way.
As a man of few words, Jarek, that was quite concise and well done. Shall we?
Let me get a survival with advantage from Darren, please.
What up? It's that boy.
And you know what? Let's actually have Professor in on that one as well.
You know what? Island's awesome survival skills.
Realistically, this is the ranger life at this point.
Copy that.
And then I'm giving you the professor because he is um, a shining beacon for this one episode. Before nothing terrible is going to happen to the professor that removes him from the storyline.
Oh no.
So I would say over the next like 8 or so hours of your day, you all are able to not necessarily run through the forest, making like high speed maneuvers through things, but you are able to progress forward with as much speed as is really legitimately useful while also making sure to maintain your own secret passage through these areas of the woods. Um, the jungle itself is still constantly alive. You will cross paths at different points with some large actual like dinosaurs. Some of them seem to be predatory. Most of them are going to be those same style of like giant lizards and more or less herbivores. If at any given point you all are hungry enough that you're looking to take a dinosaur, let me know. But you kind of cross paths with those at two different times, but are able to maintain at least enough of an advantage to keep yourselves upwind, downwind, and remove yourself as something that, like, at least the one passage with the predatory ones, keeping them from actually gaining sight on you. But if you all are moving with all haste towards Vorn, between the maps and everything that everybody understands, we'll kind of fast forward you all to Vorn, um, probably arriving at the point where realistically the professor's going to start to get towards exhaustion, and you all are getting towards needing sleep, but you are at least like close to that area where you have to make that decision of, do we wake Vorn at the start of the night and risk being in the most likely place to be spotted and seen? Or do we kind of hide off away from him and try something tomorrow when we are all fresh?
If we stay close, I may be able to help ensure we can get an undisturbed night's rest. And then Jarek's he's gonna look towards like Taryn and Island. I think I don't know why or how, but I think those Schwingas may have left me with something that might prove beneficial.
Did you say might prove an official?
Beneficial. Sorry.
Oh, okay. It's like official what? Like a badge or something? Great. So camp and then come back in the morning to Vorn first thing?
The professor votes to camp.
It is. I'm a little reticent to drop that amulet in the shield guardian and not know what happens while we're kind of in the dark at night. What if he marches off into the jungle? We need to follow him, you know?
I would suggest perhaps we make camp a little into the jungle outside the clearing, and we can still keep watch during the night and just tackle this in the morning.
Yeah, like a cold camp, no fire, no snoring. I like that.
Darren thinks that sounds like a fine plan.
Ren's in, looking a little bit more like herself now.
So just to confirm, you are camping without resurrecting Vorn, like without putting it into Vorn, but you all are camping nearby, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do the Vorn thing first thing in the morning.
And is Jarek doing?
Yes, he's going to use Leoman's tiny hut, and he's going to, if he can, make it try and color it to provide a little bit of camouflage from the outside.
So when you start to, oh damn, I feel like I had it touch one of your shoulders. I can't remember in particular. Do you or Chris remember what shoulder the Chwinga touched? I feel like it was the shoulder though. But regardless, like, your blessing is effectively like a point on your body where you can kind of like activate what, with a little bit of investigation, you would understand there's kind of like a little like floral tattoo almost to your flesh. And as you kind of like touch this and it starts to glow, there's actually going to be a little creature that kind of like comes up out of the leaves right next to you, and it kind of like, just almost if it's floating without gravity, kind of like bounds over to you and hops up onto like your lap or onto your hand if you hold it out for it, and its little white head kind of like spins in circles, And as you look around, there's going to be 2, 3, 6, 9 of these little things, all of them much smaller than even like the palm of your hand. You could fit probably 3 or 4 inside of the palm of Jarek's hand. And as they kind of like walk around you all, they're just going to start to kind of like dance in a circle around Jarek. And you're going to see as this like field starts to kind of pick up and kind of close around you all. Anybody who is outside of, I think it's 10 feet from where Jarek is going to kind of like lose sight of things for a few moments before you kind of start to see that there's almost like an illusion in this area and the vision kind of like passes through. But if you get close enough, you kind of like walk through this bubble, and inside of it, you all have a safe place to sleep and can spend the next 8 hours taking a long rest.
That's the coolest thing Darren's ever seen.
Jarek, tell us the story of how that happened. I don't remember. I've been with you, but I missed it.
Oh yes, it was on the way towards dealing with the Terra folk back in Mbala. As a matter of fact, they caught sight of these creatures, and I'd heard stories, growing up, but was never really sure if they were real. But I ended up, if you can believe it, playing a bit of rolling a bit of dice with them. It seemed to um, amuse them, and I suppose they decided that I was worthy of their help.
Can you do that regularly or just the once?
So Jared's going to kind of look towards his shoulder and see maybe like the sort of like the floral symbol is a little bit more faded than it was before, but still there. And then he'll look back up to Island. I think I may be able to do it again if the need is great.
If I recall, you have 3 uses, so you'll see like, say it's like a lotus petal, and like one petal is kind of like fall into the like stem's base, and 2 of the petals still remain.
Oh yeah, that I like that. Yes,
Awesome.
in that case.
That's what I get for missing that session, but that's awesome. So can we all sleep without a watch tonight in this space?
I mean, I would suggest we can still keep a watch just so we're not in case anything comes by the clearing while we're inside, but we should be nothing should be able to get in.
How delightful, says the professor, and he curls up in a corner and goes to sleep almost immediately.
So who's all keeping a watch? Is anybody going to? I assume Jarek, you're at least ready to keep at least one watch.
Yeah, I think just for he'll keep like the first watch again. Not he'll stay inside the hut, but he just wants to kind of keep an eye. And I mean, not that he'll be able to see all that much, but just keep some awareness of what's going on.
Darren will offer to watch second. Find a small corner, put a little pillow down, curl up in it like a little croissant.
I mean, he'll probably be less vigilant. Most likely, he'll be a little less vigilant than he otherwise would be, just because he knows that they've got this protection. But he's, yeah, still wants to. Feels like he should still keep an eye out.
Rin's already snoring. She forgot to check. She forgot to check on watches.
It's a new thing. It's a snoring meditation.
We said no snoring.
It's a deeper hum.
Okay, you guys just tell me when it's my turn.
All right. So, Derek, during your watch, you're going to have a pretty solid confidence in things. There doesn't seem to be much that's kind of coming about. But overall, everything kind of passes by, and eventually you're ready to head over and wake up Darren to give him a chance to kind of keep a watch over things. But you basically had just enough to kind of assure you that there's little to worry about.
Just wanted to cast it so it takes off the use on D&D Beyond.
Gotcha. And then let me have Darren roll 2 perceptions for me, please. So at some point during your watch, you are going to see as a large group actually heads into this area and starts to kind of like mull about different things. Let me have you roll a history for me.
Strong.
So, looking over things, you don't specifically recognize anything with what they're saying. They have very long, drawn out speech patterns, and you kind of gather that perhaps they're understanding a lot more subtlety to how things are drawn over their tongue. And it's a while before you have full confidence in this actual hut to prevent you all from any danger. But there does seem to be some level of they're almost walking around it and ignoring it. And you see a few moments where you really have to wonder as somebody's getting closer and closer. And then it's almost as if they just, something crosses their eye and they move off in another direction. But this happens for about like 30 or 40 minutes that this group is around this area before they start to head off. And it's only as they leave that you are going to notice that one of them is not walking. One of them, their lower torso, is a snake. And they are slithering from side to side. And they are at the back of the group. And shortly after you see this person, this group's going to disappear into the forest.
Would I recognize those as like we knew about the frog folk and the goblins, but have I seen these kinds of tracks here before? Am I surprised to see them here?
For what it's worth, the history was to give you a chance to actually understand what these things are. For what it's worth, like track wise, I'm going to say the tracks wouldn't necessarily surprise you, but it might tell you a little bit more about what some of the tracks that you understand are in the future. That sometimes when you see a snake that is traveling with humans, perhaps that snake wasn't chasing the humans down after all.
Okay. Well, just like kind of, sweat whenever they start walking close to us and then not really raise attention because they keep seeing to wander away. I'll just make mention of that. Does it look like they left anything by the statue? Am I able to tell from where we're at?
No, this is that they are by you all. They did not go into that actual clearing. They are in the forest by you all. This was like about 30-40 minutes of them being around your tiny hut, like where you all are camped.
Like they were aware of the tiny hut boundary.
No, they were just in that area.
Okay.
They might have tracked you all to this area and almost lost it. But the point that I was kind of getting at is they never recognized where the tiny hut was. They were just in this area and they spent a lot of time around where you are.
Island was gonna be third watch. Was that right?
Yeah, whenever you tell me.
So later, whenever it's time, like I'm gonna make sure to give him a rundown about what happened and everything to keep an eye out from then on.
Rin also would be coming out of her meditation at this time as well. So if Island and Rin are going to take up watch, that is perfectly fine.
Yeah, it seems like maybe we've attracted some trackers.
Darcy's got to get her laptop charger, but she is agreeing, and I'll roll for her if that's all right.
It's all good. Who is going to watch after Island? Is anybody else waking up to keep Rin company in the latter half of the night?
Yeah, I was gonna wake Taryn or Jarek. One of you has a preference, I'll do the one that has a preference. Otherwise, I'll just.
So Jarek took the first watch, so I'd say Taryn.
Okay, great.
Gotcha. So yeah, let me get Darcy and Taryn to roll. The other two of you, like Island and Rin, at one comment from Cam. I'm on your names now. Island and Rin are not going to really see anything spectacular. You're just going to have a long, slow watch, having an understanding that something might have been in this area tracking you all, but there's no further signs of it.
All right, so I'll wake up Taryn for his watch. Taryn, there were some trackers that showed up, like a few humans and some sort of half snake. They seem to have wandered off, but keep an eye out. And when this force field thing disappears, we want to be ready to go.
Half snake. Half, half
Bottom
snake,
half.
half what? Oh,
Bottom half snake, upper half human.
oh, okay, yeah, sure. Seems spectacular.
Seems
Okay,
apropos for this jungle, right?
well, yeah. It hasn't tried to kill us yet.
No, couldn't find us. Think it'll probably try to kill us later, though.
Huh? Well, that sounds like the jungle.
All right. See you soon.
I don't think I have solid backgrounds for Rin or Taryn. Where are the two of you from in the world? Have y'all ever thought about that?
Oh, Terran is from Waterdeep. I would,
Gotcha.
yeah, Waterdeep.
And then Rin, have you ever thought about where you are from in the world? Do we have Darcy back yet?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, but I'd like to talk to you about it first. But we've given it some thought.
Do you expect that you are from like an elvish town or area, or
Yes, clearly, for sure.
not,
Would have to
not
be.
terribly active like human society?
No.
Okay. So let me get one more perception from the two of you, Taryn and Rin. This will be around the dawn, nearing towards the end of things. I think even the professor might have actually woken up for this as well, depending on how tired the professor actually is. I think he got a solid 6 hours regardless, so can perhaps be up and around. But at some point here, you all as well are going to start to have a sensation of things kind of passing to and fro around you all before you start to see the first signs of humans in this area of the jungle around where you are. And Taryn, let me get a history from you, please. You've seen these people in Waterdeep. They don't show up there often, but they certainly do arrive from time to time. And they're not really an ill omen so much as they don't necessarily pay much attention to people who they look at as lower than them. With a little bit of recognition from within Portnai and Zaru, you would understand that they are not necessarily terribly welcome within the port itself by local Chaltons. But this is a mercenary crew that has come here from Baldur's Gate, where you have always recognized them. They arrive at times with parts of the Lord's Alliance, but almost always kind of adding to the Baldur's Gate's retinue of Lord's Alliance. There's always mercenaries of the Flaming Fist. And it's always a way that they kind of show their extra strength, is that they add just a little bit more military might to themselves with these mercenaries. And as you all are on watch, you're going to see is about 7, maybe 8 of them are kind of riding through this area. They seem to be on, a few of them are on top of large dinosaurs. You're rather sure that you all fought some of these. They had pretty large, kind of like bone like protrusions across their body, but they seem to be mostly almost pack animals. But this group kind of passes by and seems to be heading not in a direction towards Vorn, but past this area. And it gives you that little bit of kind of comfort that, for what it's worth, a meeting would have happened at this point, and you all have dodged it. But they'll kind of pass by. All will finish your long rest, and when everybody gets all set, we can pick back up with that next morning.
Jarek is going to wake looking probably more well rested than he has in a long time, because they've now had a couple nights where they've managed to, for the most part, avoid any trouble. So he's in a good mood, and kind of in his mind thanking again like the Schwingas for their charm. But he'll probably, as he awakens, he'll ask the others whether anything happened, and then presumably they would inform him about the what they saw over the course of the night.
Yeah, I feel like overall it should be next to impossible for 6 of you not to recognize the Yuan-Ti and kind of their presence here. The 2 archaeologists have plenty of reason to recognize that um, the necromancer who once plagued this land has actually been rumored to have gone in with and kind of allied himself with the Yuan-Ti. Um, the humanoids that they travel with are actually far more snake than perhaps Darren was able to identify, as they themselves have a lot of very snake-like attributes. They just don't actually have the lower body of a snake like the other one who was kind of following. And then Jarek, you 100% would be very, very familiar with who the Flaming Fists are. And I think Jarek and Eileen would know that they actually kill people who they catch in the jungle who have not actually paid for one of their essentially like passes of exploration to go through the jungle.
Yeah, they take their licenses very seriously.
And we didn't buy one, right?
No. And would we, when we were back at the ruins in Imbala, did we recall seeing any? Were there pictographs that looked like they might have depicted this kind of creature, the Yanti, or were they not among the?
They were not. At this point, I think you all have seen the creatures that were there. The lizard folk were like humanoid lizards. The other one was like the terra folk, who were like you guys have seen like two of those kind of like humanoid, almost flying creatures. The terra folk are like the more. It's almost like that was a split evolution, where there are some that are like actually cultured, and also like these flying lizards. But those are like the two reptilian ones that you all saw in that wall. The other thing was almost like a crustacean and tiger folk.
Right. Okay. Yeah, those flaming fists, just one more thing to keep an eye out for. But suppose if we're ready to go, might as well see if this thing actually works.
Yeah, about that. Do we have a backup plan if this doesn't work?
Backup plan in case what doesn't Vorn and amulet?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Like I thought this was our guy. Like I thought we were going to put the amulet on him, and then he was like our guy.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
this
as
was
far
the
as we know.
task we were given was to bring him back, find the amulet, bring him back. So I guess you could carry him, Taryn, if it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not carrying that.
We could rig up a sling and we could drag it through the woods.
Yeah, you do that. I'll figure something else out.
Let's just go sell the amulet.
Fingers crossed, anyway. I mean, go back and be irate at the merchant prince for sending us on a crazy mission that didn't work.
Like, is Born supposed to have like a personality or something? How does a shield guy work?
Well, the amulet's supposed to give us control over him, get him started, and then whoever has the amulet can tell him what to do. So I imagine that's not as easy as we think.
Well, I think I still would have held on to the amulet. I'll give it a shot unless anyone else is raring to do so.
Oh, you're welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, what's the worst thing that can happen? He'll
What could
he'll
possibly go
smash
wrong?
you.
Darren will take a quick minute just to like make sure that the clearing is empty and that he doesn't expect anyone to come and see our hijinks for at least the next like minute or so before approaching the center of the clearing to stick the old amulet in there.
Yeah, there's nobody at the clearing immediately. That's probably about as most confidence as you're going to get here.
I wonder how you're supposed to have the amulet to be in control and attach the amulet to Vorn at the same time.
Is everybody going to stand at the edge of the clearing, like 60 feet away from Darren, as he approaches to put the amulet into the chest of this creature?
Jarek will he'll accompany him. He'll,
Tara will do the same if
An
maybe
island
a
is
couple feet behind.
Island's super curious about this situation, so he'll stay with the crew.
For you, Professor, you basically are going to be looking out as this crew starts to like walk towards this clearing, and you see in general just an incredibly immaculate lawn before you. And in the center of it, there is this tall, like 15, 16-foot creature that seems like a big piece of stone. And it's just sitting there, and around it there's a bunch of flowers, food, and all kinds of things in different levels of decay. A lot of gifts that are very senseless, like carvings. A lot of them are very crude carvings, but overall, like, you can tell this thing is like worshipped. And again, they kind of picked up on this idea that there's like a regular crew visit from like goblins, as well as these like mushroom people, as well as like frog people who kind of visit this. So that's like what you're kind of seeing here is just this big, like 120-foot diameter clearing where they seem to have trimmed down all of the trees around it, and they almost like cut the grass like a long crew to keep it nice and beautiful. So Vorn has a peaceful clearing to exist in. But as you get closer, it's a armored construct of some sort, and weathered for the time, but otherwise it seems like it's been here and is completely untouched.
The professor stays with the group and looks around curiously and just follows the lead of the team.
So when you are ready to put in the amulet, Darren, probably going to have to climb up on it. Not a big difficulty for you, so you can kind of take that moment to climb up, and with one hand kind of held to its chest plate, you can kind of like swing yourself back and reach out with the amulet and put it in its chest when you are ready.
Yeah, I'll kind of like climb all the way up and settle on his shoulders and see if I can reach down and around to like be able to grab onto the head whenever the statue turns on.
If you want to kind of come at it from above, I feel like you could probably hang from like the actual like collar of its like front plate of armor. But it's, I mean, it's so much larger than you. You're gonna have to be like fully extended. You're not necessarily like immediately ready to grab its head from there.
Okay, yeah, I'll just do what I can to like have a secure holding on it then, on its chest plate while I aim it.
Yeah, like if you wanted to do it like that, I think you could basically like place the amulet and then do a pull up, and you would be looking at it like face to face.
And so I do.
Gotcha. So when you put the amulet in, there's going to be kind of like a whirl from inside as you start to hear kind of like grinding of metal. And in that very moment, the amulet's not being held into the chest. So when you go to remove your hand, you know or feel it's falling away. So you have to still hold the amulet. So instead of being able to just do like a pull up to get right back to it, you've got the amulet in one hand and you're holding yourself with the other. But what are you thinking as you start to hear just like grinding?
I'll become a little distressed that the amulet doesn't hold itself, but I'll remember what my teammates have been saying, that whoever puts the amulet in is supposed to be able to control the guy, so I'll just kind of like steady my resolve and hang in there as the machines clank and whirl.
Gotcha. So after probably about like a few seconds of this, the grinding starts to smooth out, and this internal mechanism has a kind of slow hum to it that something is still happening inside of this. But you start to see as the first arm kind of lifts itself up, the second arm kind of lifts up, and the head is going to slowly look down, making eye contact with you, Darren. And it will look at you, and it seems to be focused on your face.
Hello? It's looking very surprised as it looks directly at me.
And Island's gonna say, put the amulet. Wear the amulet. Put it on.
Wear it? Like, I don't have to hold it here the whole time?
I think you have to put it around. I think you have to be wearing it.
Uh,
When you say hello, one of the arms is going to kind of like finish lifting itself, and it's going to like start to cradle at your feet and basically kind of like lift you in front of it. So unless you like hold on to the chest, it's kind of holding you like a foot out in front of its face, standing inside of its palm.
that's pretty handy. So now that his arm is up underneath me and holding me, like, the amulet's still loose, I want to see what happens if I do take it out of the socket.
Oh yeah, the amulet's already out of the socket.
Well,
But
like,
that was my point. There was
well, like,
nothing holding the amulet into the socket.
right. I just wanted to see, like, if I let go and try and put it around my neck, if the machine stays powered.
Yeah, the moment you put it in there, the machine started to move. When you would have tried to move your hand at all, you had to maintain the amulet or it was going to fall to the ground.
Okay. Darren will start cackling now, and since it's working, he'll slip the amulet around his neck and climb all the way up onto the thing's shoulders now and be like, "This is awesome."
So as you like climb to its shoulder, like you see as the head kind of maintains like locked on you. So when you get to like the right shoulder, its head has just looked 90 degrees straight towards you.
I ask him, "Do you mind giving me a boost up all the way there?"
Gonna grab you off of its shoulder and start to lift its arm directly up, and it extends it, and you'll be about like 12, 13 feet above the ground.
Well, this is okay. All right. Take 2 steps forward, but over the stuff.
You're gonna hear just as the first leg kind of like pulls up out of the ground, and you'll see that it's almost like sunk into the earth here, about a foot, foot and a half. And it slowly lifts its leg over everything in front of it before placing it down on the other side of the turf. And it's going to kind of sink about 6 or 8 inches into the turf. And then you'll hear that same cracking and whining as the metal tears out of the earth and takes its second step forward.
It's working, like Anakin from Episode 1.
That's awesome. Can it talk?
I like wrap my knuckles on his big old metal head and say, "Speak words."
That's good. What is the last thing it remembers?
What is the last thing you remember? Knock knock.
Its left foot is going to lift up out of the earth and take a step forward. And then the right foot will lift up out of the earth and take a step forward.
Hmm. Well, I don't think it wants to tell us anything, but we're on the move at least.
No, it's like charades. The last thing it remembers is walking.
So, can it remember more than that, do you think? How would you ask that?
Does it tell it to nod for yes and shake its head for no? And then ask it if if it remembers the last place it saw its companion, or first ask if it remembers its companion, maybe.
Okay. So like I explain to the shield bearer that I want it to nod for yes and shake head for no, and then
It
I'll
will
ask.
nod yes to the first one, and then when you say shake your head no for no, it nods its head.
Hmm. w- Okay, so he'll try it this
Think
way.
about that for a moment, though. Think about that. You told it to nod its head for yes and shake its head for no. And it said yes and yes.
Yes.
So it understood.
Okay. So I'll change my question to be, in answer to my question, following nod yes or no. Do you remember your companion before us?
It's going to nod and then shake its head. So up, down, left, right.
Is that a I don't know?
Oh, I'm
It's a
not
yes and a no.
Well, that's
Uh,
one question at a time, right? Can you help us find the wizard?
I relay what he said.
It's just going to look to you and kind of tilts its head to the side.
Now that one's an I don't know, I think.
Yeah, that seems right.
And it's
Maybe
gonna
you have
nod
to ask it
yes.
which wizard. Which wizard do you want it to help find?
Darren will look to Jarek and Island for the answer to that one.
It's actually going to look to the professor as he's saying it. Looks back to Darren. And then again it kind of tilts its head.
So I'll ask the shield bearer, you were looking for that wizard? And I'll point to the professor.
It's gonna shake its head now.
Were you looking for that wizard? And I'll point to Rin.
It's going to slowly take a step over towards Rin and start to reach out its left hand to grab her.
Oh, stop, don't do that.
The moment you say stop, it stops and it's just unmovingly reaching out towards her.
Okay.
It's Wakanga told us the story of a wizard who was Vorn's companion. I don't think we know the name.
Was it given anything by its companion?
What do you mean there, Justin?
Well, I think like Wakanga had said that it might have information about the wizard. I'm just wondering if maybe the wizard had left like notes or something or a journal or something with it. But I'm trying to phrase like yes, no questions.
Gotcha. So it's going to kind of look towards you, and as it tilts its head, shake its head no.
Do you remember where you were before you came to this clearing? And Jack will kind of like gesture to the area around him as he says like clearing.
It's going to take a few moments to look around, kind of surveying this area before it looks back to Jarek and shakes its head no. Let me get an insight from you there, Jarek. Actually, yeah, you all can insight check that one. It's overall pretty good. I think it's pretty clear that it doesn't recognize this clearing because it wasn't a clearing when it shut down.
Yeah.
I asked
Like
the shield.
my bad. The time it took surveying is kind of what I mean, where it was trying to figure out where it is and has no clue because it didn't look like this. So my bad there, Darren. What were you thinking there?
Pardon me. I was going to ask it. Sorry, one sec. I was going to see if it could tell how long it's been in this clearing by show of fingers, if it can tell. Or I guess how long it's been parked here, not necessarily in the clearing.
It's going to turn back towards where it was at rest and looking around all of the gifts and trinkets, very slowly surveying everything. It's going to look back to you, shaking its head no, and then you're going to see as it reaches in with its right hand and grasps. Actually, I think it has you in its right hand, so it's going to set you down in front of where it was at this little like makeshift shrine and start to reach its hand into the dirt. And very quickly, the two archaeologists are going to see that it is digging away the dirt from where it was.
Should
Could it be,
should I
be
stop him?
that's be that simple? Could the wizard have buried something near the guardian?
I say let him go for a while, see if he uncovers anything.
After a few minutes of moving away the dirt, you're going to see as it kind of like gently starts to cradle something, and it's going to kind of pull its torso back upright, and it's going to set down a skull on the ground.
Oh, wizard didn't make it.
Oh no.
Is there a spell book around it?
You can roll a perception and try to look inside. From what you can see in the hole, doesn't seem to be anything but dirt here. But it's quite a ways into this ground at this point. From what you can tell, this was perhaps ages ago.
Can Jarek take a look at the skull and see, does there appear to be any obvious sign of um, some sort of damage to it, like that would be coming from a wound or an attack of some sort?
Do a medical check. When you look over the skull, you don't really see anything in particular that tells you um, that there's anything that might have caused this until you kind of like go through and like at the last moment you're going to see a different point where part of the um, ocular cavity, the I can't think of the actual name of your eye bone, other than it's the oculus.
The orbit?
Is that what's that?
Was it like the orbit?
I'm not entirely sure whether it would be under orbit, but basically part of the eye is actually shattered, and there's like a little bit of like a ringing inside of the skull, but you kind of will eventually come to a recognition that something crushed the wizard's eye in a way that it broke that bone, and perhaps that bone basically was lodged into the wizard's brain. But that's kind of like the clue that you have from this skull.
Okay, so Jarek would relay his findings to the others, and he's going to look towards Island and do you think it would be possible if someone in town could know it? Is there a way to speak with the dead?
Well, I certainly think we should bring the wizard back with us and see Wakanga. Because if someone knows, it would be him, or perhaps Syndra. Do you think that hole in the eye socket looks like Shield Guardian thumb sized?
Roll a medicine check on it. As you look over it, you have a pretty good sense that this is blunt force trauma. And depending on what kind of like actual medical background you might have versus just being able to heal things, I think it's kind of vague, but let's call it on some level that you do have a bit of a pathology and you understand this is the type of thing that like people who fall downstairs, they get breaks like this.
Well, so yeah, I'll relay that it seems more accidental than Shield Guardian purposeful. But yeah, I think we should pack him up and bring him back and give him a proper burial. Vorn, can you recover all of the wizard so we can bring him back to his colleagues in the city?
Going to nod yes at Island, look over towards Darren, and then return back to that little pit as it starts to continue to like basically lean in with most of its torso, and it's slowly just sifting through the dirt with its hand, pulling up occasional bones.
Great. Well, I'll gather those bones and carry them with me, respectfully.
You all have Vorn activated. You have him digging up bones, returning at least some level of the wizard to kind of a whole space. What's everybody thinking here?
Jarek would ask, like, if Vorn knows, is anything else buried in this area? Maybe anything the wizard might have been carrying, or that Vorn was asked to bury.
I think it's going to look to you. And as its head kind of tilts to the side, it'll kind of like straighten up and shake its head no. But then it's going to kind of like reach out to the sky and kind of like slowly bring down its arm over that hole where it's already dug. And as its kind of hand kind of comes up, palm up over the dirt, you'll see as it kind of like cradles something between its arms, or at least mocks cradling something between its arms. Let me get another group insight check from you all.
That's good that round.
Woo!
The professor's going to use mold earth and start helping the shield guardian dig in that spot.
Just so as you help, it definitely speeds up the actual process of like sifting through and finding all of the bones. Depending how much detail you all want to put into it and how much time you can effectively recover at least most of the bones. I think with that group of rolls, though, you all aren't going to get any better description than what I've already given you as to like how it shows you that moment when Jarek asked it if there was anything else that's buried here.
Just to reiterate, kind of, so it lifted its hand up, palm up, you said, and then lowered it back down.
Yeah, like it lifted its right hand up to the sky, almost just like extended out all of its fingers. It still has five fingers. It's very much humanoid, just like twice as large as all of you. Kind of like reaching up to its sky with its palm like fully open. And then as it brings its hand down, when both hands are at the ground, it's like cradling something.
Okay.
Does this enchanted thing have thoughts?
Are you asking that? Like, does this enchanted thing have thoughts?
Yeah, can I read its thoughts?
What are you going to cast?
Detect thoughts.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Okay. I just thought maybe I would know if this had thoughts. But yeah, I'd like to cast detect thoughts and see if I can learn more about its origin and how it can help and
What's going on in there?
what's going on inside its noggin.
Alan's gonna lean over to Jarek. Do you think he's carrying something? Maybe?
Maybe we could ask it. Does it have any other compartments? Is it carrying, or just is it carrying anything else inside it?
Yeah, I think maybe the wizards. There doesn't seem to be any spell book or effects or anything. Maybe he has all of those inside of him.
And Jarek's still trying to puzzle out what the kind of the motions that Vorn had made might mean. He's not sure if it means like it was to show like falling from a height, or like thinking out loud.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if instead of something being buried, it was up in the trees. It kind of fits what you're thinking about falling from a height, smashing one's face and dying.
So, Rin, as you cast Detect Thoughts, there's going to be a moment where you're kind of searching through this, and as it kind of feels like you're locating close, there's not anything there for you to connect to. You don't hear anything inside of your head.
Okay.
It's kind of a hard interpretation because it doesn't speak, it doesn't form any language for you to hear, which is, I feel like, what they're kind of getting at with Detect Thoughts, is it's almost like you are interrupting that process of something thinking, forming the thought that it's about to say, or that it's trying to hide saying. And this thing doesn't have language. It understands you, but at this point, you all can pretty well recognize that this creature doesn't speak.
Understood.
Yeah, there's a whole philosophical debate about whether thought comes before language or language comes before thought. And yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to argue, but but where does the language come from?
Like
Yeah, I only
anything, if
spent
you
like
don't
100
have
words.
I'm just kidding.
Like, can you think if you don't have the language to express the thoughts in your head, or
Hey man, beep boops mean just as much as our thoughts.
I'm just saying it's a philosophical area, but as an aside, but
So maybe after it gets the wizard's bones together, we can ask it to show us the wizard's possessions.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool idea because, like, we found that secret compartment without a lock before, right?
I can open a locked compartment, even a magical one.
Well, he'll probably just do it if we tell him, right? It works for us.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
I don't even remember what I made up. I said
Belongs
there's
to
a secret
Darren.
compartment.
Well, I think it was Niall was investigating and trying to pry something open, and it was a thing.
Oh, he was trying to take off its armor. It was not a compartment. It's this thing. You can ask this thing to open up its chest and see the inner workings of its body.
yeah, he had found the inset, I think, but not.
Yeah,
any,
he
like,
was. I can't believe that was one of those things where I'm like, okay, you're gonna start taking apart a magical creature if you want to do this. Yeah, he was purely seeing that this thing is built to have work done on it when it takes damage.
Gotcha.
It has hinges on all of its armor that you can like literally ask it to unhinge its armor, and without any locking mechanism, it can open up all of its armor. But that's what it is. It's like, each pauldron on its shoulders have hinges so you can like access the shoulder joint. The chest opens up. That was the one that I think he was messing with the most. The chest opens up and you see a series of like whirling wheels and gyroscopes and things that basically are in constant motion, both with like a magical power as well as with like a certain amount of like physical existence, that like this thing can't fall easily because it has so much weight in these gyroscopes that are constantly spinning. It almost like helps it maintain a balance. But yeah, that's all he was like getting towards, is that this thing is a creature that is a combination of both magic as well as creativity. Like, in that it was an invented robot, but it is animated by magic.
Right on.
But overall, as you guys kind of continue through this, like when you question about the wizard's possessions, it's going to return to that hole. And every single time you guys go to the hole, there's nothing in there. This wizard died ages ago. Anything that might have been here is gone. Vorn is the treasure.
So after a while, there in Alaska, the like Jarek and Island and Terran, like if they had any other pressing business in the forest needed to tend to, or if we're kind of like headed back to port once we're done investigating that.
I think we should, if we can bring Vorn back with us to port. I think that's the next. That'd be my vote for our next move.
Yeah, that was what we were instructed to do.
So I think if that is the overall idea, let's go for just a round of survivals from everybody here. Are you planning on walking back to port? Are you thinking about returning to Camp Vengeance and claiming your canoes and trying to paddle back to port?
Would do we think Vorn would fit, or I guess is he big enough that he could? Feel like his weight would probably be too much for a canoe, but maybe he can like walk on the side, or depending on how deep the river is.
Or can we train dinosaurs?
Nothing about Vorn is conducive to a canoe. You've certainly seen trained dinosaurs inside of Port Nyanzaru, but to train a dinosaur now would be a completely other thing.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to have to go overland.
Technically, we could go, so we take the canoes and Vorn keeps up with us on the shoreline, or so. If we want to go to Camp Vengeance first.
What are they going to think about Vorn at Camp Vengeance?
Yeah, that could be. I mean, if we tell him that it's for Wakanga Atama, for him, the merchant prince, they would probably let us go.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm attracted to the canoe idea for the time it'll take. If we can go faster that way. Let me look at the map. And seems like we have to go back through the. We have to go back through the ape tribe's space, but they're probably not going to mess with us if we're with Vorn, right?
I mean, if we have the real Vorn, I don't think they want to mess with us, no.
Well, it's going to be really hard to convince them that, no, really, this time it is the real one.
Until they try and fall through it, and then
I mean, the fact that you are still visible and Vorn is also visible would probably be a clue for them to know that at least you're not the one impersonating Vorn this time.
Oh, it'd be gods use avatars on occasion, no?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to find you out because they're going to see the real Vorn again. Just be one more person with our party. I don't think they'll. Well, two actually, the professor. So it's a long walk, but it's very direct.
I mean, I feel like I would just be happier staying closer to Lorne if we're on the water and it's on shore and something attacks us in the water, it may not help us, whereas perhaps it can help defend us if we stay close to it and travel overland.
Okay, I'm off for that.
So is that thought overland travel heading back to Port Nyanzaru?
Sounds like a plan, Stan.
Yeah, all right, I'm for it. So
Let me get everybody to roll a d4, please. So, over the next 12 days, you all are going to be venturing through the woods of this land. While there certainly are regular dangers that come out and assault you at times, by and large, you are not actually going to be um, assaulted by anything kind of along the lines of what you've dealt with in the past. A lot of things seem to be almost respecting or avoiding the presence of this large creature that is traveling with you. Uh, Among the different events that are going to break this, there will be a certain time where large constricting snakes actually assault the group, and it's far more the actual ambush of these snakes coming about and snapping out at Vorn and trying to pull it and bind it, that in a moment you can tell this creature kind of regrets everything, as your party is able to set upon them and destroy these creatures, standing more or less little chance against Vorn and your party as a whole. Um, some of the other things that will kind of jump out as rather unique will be the existence of these horned rabbits that at some point kind of group around you and seem to almost be intrigued by Vorn. And they follow you all for a few moments and kind of keep close to you at times. And you'll see them kind of over like 2 or 3 days and whatnot. But they seem to stay close enough to you all, but still kind of remain almost skittish. But they'll kind of be around you all for a few of these days' travel. And then the last big thing, I don't even know how to describe. I'm trying to figure out what it is. I think it's a tiger that almost looks like it's got like snakes growing out of its head. Um, and again, it's just going to kind of be one of those instances where this crazy beast from the jungle is going to leap out and kind of try to take you all before the group overall is able to make it. But at this point, the 12 days are going to pass. You all will make it back to Port Nyanzaru, and we are going to kind of close off here. If you all are disappointed that I wanted to fast forward through the return journey, I am very sorry. Part of what we are going to go here is you all are going to level up to level 5. So for those of you who will be here next time, you can roll. If you would like with the professor, Gareth, you are perfectly welcome to pick the next level that you will do with the character. It's kind of up to you. But is the overall plan that... My bad, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you.
If the overall plan is that you all are bringing Vorn to Wakanga Tamu, he is going to take Vorn. Is that what you all are planning on doing?
He was going to give us a spell book in exchange for Vorn, which I thought would move Syndra's, and that would move Syndra's task forward. So I think maybe we're going to go see Syndra and ask her what she thinks before we finalize that deal.
All right. Well, I am telling you, if you all take Vorn to Wakanga Tamu and Syndra is at his house, he is going to take Vorn from you. Is that what you all are planning on doing next session?
Are we getting a spell book in return? Aren't we on a quest to do that? What are we here for?
Just what I said there. If you take Vorn to Wakanga, he is going to take Vorn. Is that acceptable for the group?
Let's go with Darren. This escort mission.
Yeah, Jarek, I think it's acceptable. What do you think? Taryn, you were both there when we heard this. We heard from Wakanga.
I mean, that is what he hired us to do, and I'm not sure what else we can get from Vorn, but we can also, if he takes Vorn, maybe we can see if he can help us find someone who might be able to, if we can somehow establish contact again with the with the wizard, now that we have his remains.
All right.
But
So, no spoilers about what's going to happen next session when we're talking about things. But if you guys can think of magical items that you would like, I want you to pick out. Essentially, you could get like 2 common magical items or an uncommon magical item. Kind of come up with a list and try to think about certain things may not necessarily fit into what they are called and maybe a little bit rare and harder to find. So try to think wisely about what you might be asking for. But at this point, there's a certain level of you each will be granted a magical item or choice for returning Vorn to Wakanda. So if you all, this is the actual people, can try to think about what magical items that you want for this character moving forward, now would be the time to kind of figure this out. But with that,
Cool.
with that in the actual moment here, is Darren going to go with another level in Ranger?
May I get back to you on that, or would you like?
100%. Is Rin going to go with another level in Sorcerer? Or wait, Wizard? Him and I always get so confused by that character. I think of her as a sorcerer.
I don't know.
All right, you were thinking about the fighter before. This would be an
I was,
option.
oh yeah, I was thinking about a fighter subclass, but I wanted to see what changes for Ren at level 5.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Level 5 for spellcasters is a big level. It's level 3 spells, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Is Jarek, or rather, Professor, have you thought about what you might do with your level 5?
The professor will take another level of warlock.
You can roll a d8 for me. That would be great. Jarek, would you care to level up in fighter again?
yeah, I think Jared's going to stick with fighter for now.
Excellent. And then roll again with that. Taryn, are you going to go with another level in rogue?
That I am.
And then Island, another
Yeah.
level of cleric?
Yeah.
Excellent. So you two can roll, both of you are d8s.
Yeah, Wakanga, the magical item merchant. It's great.
So he's like a all right kind of guy. Like we're not giving him like some ultimate power for like it's not falling into the wrong hands or anything.
He's got an awful lot of power already, and it might be the wrong hands, but our patron is staying at his house because they aren't cahoots. So
Fair enough.
I'm skeptical, but loyal. And we're basically in his employ. He gave us a little bit of money and sent us out in the jungle to see if we'd survive.
It's all right with the gang. Do you think he'd take to a couple of newcomers all right?
Oh yeah, we had people that we left with that aren't going to come back. I don't think he'll be surprised by that.
It's a tough jungle out there.
It's pretty deadly.
When you leave Port Nine Zaru, you are dead until you walk back into Port Nine Zaru. Nobody is surprised when people don't return.
Yeah, I mean, and Wakango gave us a lot of information too, so I feel like, I mean, he's got obviously his own ulterior motives, but it might be that like our interests align pretty much.
He's like our patron.
And he's friends with the person who hired us to begin with, so it's kind of another, our employer trusts him, as far as we know, so